Bad.
No worries. Happy Friday.
I didn't know that I had it set up where you had to be admitted to come in. So I thought it was just
That's
automatic.
that's always a good practice.
Right? Right? So how's your day?
It's good. It's good. Just doing some studying and some work before some meetings to follow. How's your day going?
Good. I mean, yeah, I got up extra early for some reason and just have been going ever since. But I know you are on a limited time, and so um, I guess we should just jump right in and see where it takes us.
Sure thing. Let's do it.
So when we talked last a couple of weeks ago, you and I just seem to have this way of getting into deep dive conversations, even for just a regular casual hello. I don't know how, but we've always been that way. We've always had that relationship, and that's probably why I love you so much because I just feel like I can, go there with you. And we even talked about you kind of put me in check, and I love the way that you did that. And so that's what has led us here to this conversation. And we decided that we're going to talk about purpose. And you have done a talk on that. And so if you'll, what I'll probably do is tag your link whenever I post this for you as well. But tell me what you think. If you had to define purpose, how would you define purpose?
Yeah, I'm actually glad you brought that talk up, and I love that you will tag that, and I hope someone can gain something from that. I think life is always about how are you evolving, right? And even since I've given that talk, I think my life experience has helped me even evolve more on that subject. And I think much of the elements, or pretty much all of the elements of what I discussed during that talk, still are relevant and purposeful, if you would.
Mm-hmm.
But the evolution of what I feel like purpose was and where I was then versus where I am now, probably a 6 year gap between the time that I gave that talk and now is, purpose was much more about um, doing something, right? And my evolution has led me to feel purpose in a way of it's more about what happens to people when you do what you do. So it's less about you and it's more about your impact on the
Yes.
world and how whatever gifts you've been given by God to grace the world with, how are you utilizing those gifts to get the best out of not just yourself, but everyone else, right? So, what happens to you? What happens to others when you do what you do? And seeing that sort of flower just blossom. And you're planting as many seeds as you can with the gift that you've been given. And I really think that that's ultimately what purpose is, how many seeds can you plant that help people no matter what their desires are or what their capabilities are, how are you helping those things come to fruition, right? What's the harvest of that? Um,
I used to think that I had to have this grand purpose, like that I was living for this one purpose and it's some big grandiose thing, right? And so when
mhm.
I stepped out of teaching, for the first 2 years, I felt a little lost. I'm like, God, and I'm praying, God, what is my purpose? Like, what do you want my purpose to be? I even went out and researched, like, looked up, how do you find your purpose in life, And
Yeah.
it gave me questions to ask myself. And I even sometimes struggled answering those questions. And I was like, just tell me, God, what my purpose is, and I will do it. Whatever you want me to do, by golly, I will do it, right? But
Yeah.
then I was doing a Bible study with through Max Lucado, and I stumbled across this one, and it was so timely for me because I was in that mix of trying to figure out what's my big purpose in life, right? And he said it so good, and I was looking through my notes trying to find it before we had this conversation, and I can't find it, of course, because I want to, right? So, but I remember it very vividly saying that you live on purpose every day. You're living on
Hmm.
purpose
Hmm.
for purposes, right? And I was just like, oh, so we have a bunch of little mini purposes like stepping stones
Yeah.
throughout our entire
Yeah.
life. And in the
Yeah.
whole scheme of things, if we are doing those things, if we are matching our values with our gifts and providing a need and helping someone, then we are fulfilling our purpose every single day,
Yes.
right? And so we're
Yes.
living
Yes.
intentionally. And
Yes.
that was huge for me because like I said, I was like, my purpose is I'm supposed to do this nonprofit and I gotta make it the best that it can be. And I was putting all these pressures and probably even confining my box where God is saying, I don't need you in this box, Trisha. Like, you just keep doing and being obedient and live intentionally, live on purpose, and
Hmm.
then your purposes will fulfill themselves. So I love how you said that because I do think that people get caught up in that question. So, what is your purpose in life? And
Yeah.
I've been victim of that where I have felt that. And
Well,
so,
I think we all have. One of the phrases that I play in my mind over and over again to keep me out of that trap, and it's something that I learned as I was studying to become a coach, a life coach, is show up empty, right? I think we all try and
I am writing
come.
that down. Show up empty. I like that.
Yeah, I think we all try to come to people and situations having figured everything out. And yes, you can, I'm not telling anybody not to do your homework, right? But as it matters for each individual, as it matters for each assignment, you really need to show up to that assignment empty, not with any predetermined ways that you want to, impact a certain situation or thing, but really get an understanding of what that thing, what that individual, what that situation needs before you determine how you are going to be a resource, right? And I think that's why we sort of end up in a tailspin oftentimes because we want so badly to identify the purpose of something versus allowing that innate purpose that we have to show up, right? And the only way that we can do that is by really, really listening effectively, heart listening, not ear listening, but
Yes.
heart listening, right?
Have you seen the book
Um,
Be Where Your Feet Are?
Yes, I have.
I mean,
Absolutely.
and
Absolutely.
that really speaks volumes to me because I feel like in the day and age of cell phones and watches, it's hard sometimes to be in the moment and be present. And so I
Hmm.
love how you're saying show up empty without any expectations of
Hmm.
any conversation that you're going into. Just go into it with that open heart, and then the what's supposed to come out of it will come out of it if you're genuinely listening with the right heart posture and with the
Yes.
intentionality of being present in that moment. you know to me, purpose is not about a platform. It's just about being more obedient, being more of a servant.
Hmm.
And purpose looks different for different people. There are some people who are just not built to be servants. Like that
Hmm.
is just not how they're built.
Hmm.
So I'm not saying this is for everyone, but I do believe that if you stripped away all titles, because we all know that titles can come and go, right? So we
Hmm.
strip away all of our titles, then who are you? What is left? I
Hmm.
used to tell my students that when they were trying to define their values, a lot of times they struggled with that. And I'm like, values are what's important to you. Like, if you looked at a concrete slab before a home is built, it's built upon that slab. And then you
Hmm.
have the framers who come in, build the walls, the roof. Then you have everything else that comes in after that, all the pretty stuff where you get to decorate it and paint the walls and do all the fun stuff, right? But then a storm comes and it wipes out the house. What is left? Most
The
of the time,
foundation.
the foundation. And if
Hmm.
you don't have that foundation to stand upon, you're lost. You're not going
Hmm.
to have anything, right? And so to
Hmm.
me, our values are what drives our purpose in life.
Hmm.
And then
Hmm.
what gifts that we've been given help us fulfill that purpose in life. And so I think it's super important in today's age and for the kids that are out there nowadays to know their values, to know what's
Mm-hmm.
important to them, to know that if everything else was stripped away from you, what do you have left? You know?
Mm-hmm.
And I actually used to give them a picture of a concrete slab and make them write their values on that as a visual. And I tell them, like, put it on your mirror, hang this up every day so that you know what you stand for. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you can't be a drifter. If you're a drifter, then you will never have purpose. Purpose helps
Mm-hmm.
drive us, but clouds float. Wherever the wind blows, that cloud is going to blow with it. And I would tell my
Mm-hmm.
kids, don't be a cloud. You know, don't be
Mm-hmm.
a floater.
Mm-hmm.
Today you're over
Mm-hmm.
here with this group, tomorrow you're over there with that group. Where do you want to be? What do you align with? What do you, and you said that in your video, aligning with my purpose. Like I wrote that down when I watched your video because I loved that. I believe, in my opinion, the way I took that is aligning my values and my gifts with my purpose. And then it will just kind of evolve, right? It will come out of that. I wrote this
Mm-hmm.
down when I was thinking. I said, when I was like, so how do you define purpose with all of this that we're talking about? And I wrote, you don't find it, you define it
Mm-hmm.
because it's in you. You said that in your speech too. It's in you.
Mm-hmm.
It's like what we have inside of us. We just have to figure out how to use that, right? How to
Mm-hmm.
use those gifts and incorporate it with our values. So,
And I think it shows up differently everywhere, right? Like I think sometimes we are looking for one thing that we can say, okay, this is my purpose in the world.
yes.
And that's not
Been
the
there, done
case. You
that.
you have a purpose at work, you have a purpose at home, you have a purpose
yes.
in community, you have a purpose, everywhere you go, that purpose is going to show up differently. But again, that purpose is your innate gifts, your responsibilities to the universe to make people and situations better than you found them,
Yes.
right? Or at least that's my purpose, right? Like
I agree.
I know that my gift is I try and leave people and places better than I found them, no matter what the tenure is. We're all here for seasons and reasons.
Yeah.
And so the goal is, how do I show up empty enough that I can be full enough of what I need to, gather from a particular person, situation, thing, whatever it is, to really leave that individual or entity in a better place than I found it or them.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I really believe my purpose in life is to be a servant leader. I just took a gifts test. And my gifts came back. Leadership came out as number one. Administration came out as number two. I was actually surprised teaching wasn't number one because that's what I've done for so long. But
Hmm.
I think, like you just said, we evolve. And
Hmm.
as we evolve and change, and I've actually been out of teaching for 4 years now, so maybe that's why it didn't show up. Maybe God is saying, here's a different direction for you. And leadership showed up as the number one thing. And for me, that means I want to be a servant leader. I don't want to be a dictator or, a delegator. Obviously, you have to delegate some things, but I want to be that person who would sit at Jesus' feet and wash his feet, not be the one who's in the back making sure that everything's okay. However,
Hmm.
most of the time, I'm that person in the kitchen trying to make sure everything's okay. And I have
Hmm.
to refocus what the priorities are. And that's hard, I think, especially for somebody like me who's very type A and wants everything to be perfect. If you take the Enneagram test, I am a number one, so I'm a perfectionist. And so
Hmm.
I find sometimes that difficult for me when I should be serving. I'm over here cleaning, or I'm over here trying to get logistics organized, and it's very hard to break those habits, I think, especially at my age. But, when it comes down to it, I don't want my purpose to be flashy. I don't want it to be for fame. I'm not trying to get famous here, but I do want to leave a legacy. I
Hmm.
want my purpose to be that I've left a legacy that is of integrity and humility and something that my daughter could be proud of to say that was my mom.
Hmm.
And so to me, my purpose looks a lot different, I think, than in my younger years. In my younger years, it was all about make that money, get that promotion, get that title. And how quickly did I learn after a layoff that title meant nothing? And I really was lost. I didn't know who I was when that came
But
about.
I think what you're describing, though, to me, there's a distinction here. That wasn't necessarily your purpose. Those were your objectives, right? And I think, there's often a conflation of what we are, objectifying that we want to do in order to have a certain thing. Personally, I don't think that has anything to do with your purpose. Even in the midst of all of that, I think you still had a purpose that you just weren't able to acknowledge because you hadn't come to that level of consciousness yet, right?
No, I
Now
was
that you're
very
at this,
selfish back then.
yeah, but even in your selfishness, that's why God is such an amazing and just bountiful God, because even in the midst of that state of confusion and you operating in what you described as selfishness, your purpose was still impacting people like me and others and countless others without you even having consciousness of it, right? Which
True.
tells you
True.
that purpose is such an innate, inanimate, internal path that God has set you on that has nothing really to do with you. So I'm even a little conflicted, if I can push back a little bit. I'm even a little conflicted when I hear you say my purpose is to be a servant leader. And the reason why is because that's a title, right? Your
Could be.
purpose truly has nothing to do with any title or any of those things. It's about what happens to the individuals you impact when you lead. What does that look like? So that purpose is more of a thing than a title, right? And so it's all about when you are being a servant leader, what's happening in the world? Like, what's the impact of that? And how is that impact building that legacy that you speak of, in my estimation?
Well, I think I view servant leader as yes, it could be a title, but it is also a stewardship. I mean, it's what I am striving to do. But,
Objective,
you know,
objective, and
if
objectives are great.
I guess
Yeah,
at my core, I'm a woman of faith, committed to serving others, I would say
yeah.
is what I want to do. And I want to lead with integrity and help people grow. And
Hmm.
so, I don't know. I don't think you can put purpose in a box. I think,
Hmm.
like I said, it's a daily thing that we're doing. Uh,
Yes. You just
and
and we're saying the same thing now. Yeah,
yeah, I mean, just it's just what we do.
and
So
any way that we do it is a vehicle, right? Like, me wanting to be, I was me being a coach, right? It's a vehicle, right? To do that daily thing of helping people reach their objectives or their maximum capacity, right? But I do think the more that we simplify, I agree with you. We can't put purpose in a box, but simplifying it gives us more access to it more readily, daily, weekly, monthly, to really think about, okay, if nothing else, if I don't achieve anything else, any additional titles, any more pay, any of these things, in its simplest form, what can I do to know that I'm on the right track each day, right? Pour into somebody in this way and do these different things, you know?
so what's your
Um,
answer to that question?
so
How
my,
would you answer that question?
so what I do each day is, again, I literally repeat to myself, show up empty. Whether I'm in a grocery store, whether I'm in a gym, whether I'm on a Zoom call, whether I'm, no matter where I am trying to absorb as much as I can about other people, their cares, their desires, their hurts, their pains, in order to reflect that back onto them in a way that they might start in one place and grow into a new place, right? And so
So you're
that's
living intentionally every day. Yeah.
I'm I'm glad that you brought that up as well. Yes and no,
Okay.
right? Like, we are not perfect beings and we never will be. there are some parts of my life where I'm living very intentionally. The showing up empty is a way of living intentionally.
Hmm.
But there are often times where, yes, I'm reactionary, right? And that's okay. That's a part of the human experience, right? Anything beyond that would be supernatural. And I don't think I'm supernatural. I think I'm very human. But I always have a goal to be intentional.
Right.
Although I often fall short of it. Yeah.
I remember when I was teaching, and I had switched schools, but I was still in the same school district. And I had a really hard time because I had been at this one school for 4 years, and I was a coach and a teacher. When I moved to this other school, I was just a teacher. I hate to say
Hmm.
just a teacher, but I didn't have that coach title.
Hmm.
And so the first day we had our convocation, they bring all the schools together in one place for like a big hoorah pep rally. Let's kick off the new year. And my old school was there, of course, right? And they put us in all red shirts. So we looked like an army walking in and we all matched. But my other school and all my people that had been my people for 4 years were in a different section and I could see them. And I remember almost feeling like a traitor, but I got emotional. I just had tears in my eyes and I felt really alone in that moment.
Hmm.
And then when we went back to our campus, here again, I think I hide things really well, but apparently I don't because people recognize it and I don't even know. But I had a teacher come up to me and she said, Trish, you may not know what it is, you may not see it or be able to see it right now, but you have a purpose here. She said,
Hmm.
you were
Hmm.
brought here for a reason, and
Hmm.
that may not show you today what that is, but in time, you will know what your purpose is here. But she
Hmm.
said, I assure you, God doesn't do things on accident, and you have a purpose here. Man, that
Yes.
brought the floodgates, right? Because it was exactly what I needed to hear in that moment. And I
Hmm.
made a little sticky note and I put it on my computer that I saw every single day. And it simply said, you have a purpose here, as a
Hmm.
reminder
Hmm.
in those moments,
Hmm.
And I did. There's so many kids at that school that I know without a shadow of a doubt that I touched their lives and that I changed their
Hmm.
lives and maybe broadened their spectrum of view. They were very
Hmm.
narrow in what they could see. So,
Hmm.
absolutely 100%, I had a purpose there. But in that
Hmm.
day and in that moment, it was really hard to see and feel. And I think that's very human. I think that's us. There's a lot of times we can't see it. We don't
Well,
know it,
well,
right?
you're not supposed to see it because guess what? God had to make sure that that teacher exacted her purpose in making sure that you knew you had a purpose. And
You know how many
so,
times I've used that with other people? I did a Wellness Wednesday because with my nonprofit, we're doing Wellness Wednesdays for teachers.
yeah,
Educators are just near and dear to my heart. They always will be, having been in that industry as long as I was.
yeah.
And so I've worked out a partnership with the school here, and I go there once a month. And I just deliver powers of positivity. I laminated some things and some notes, but one of them literally is the exact same thing that that person gave me, and it says, you have a purpose here. Because
There you
I
go.
know how much it impacted me. That teacher has no idea that that impacted me like that. I should call
Hmm.
her and tell her. I mean, honestly, I don't know that I've ever even mentioned it to her,
Hmm.
but I
Hmm.
still use that today, and we are talking 10 years ago. And I
Hmm.
still use that today and share that with others because it was so impactful for me. So,
Hmm.
anyway,
Hmm. Hmm.
but
And I'm sure impactful for her too to probably see the impact that you had while you were there. So,
yeah.
love it.
Yeah, I love it too. And I love you're doing what you do and that you've become a life coach. If you have a website or anything, I want you to send it to me and that way I can, plug it in here whenever I post this video. And I hope we do more of these because I think they're super good talks and I don't want people to get bored. So I don't even know how long we've talked. It hasn't been that long, I don't think, but um, I
Yeah,
love it, and I love you. And let's just find something. What
I
should
love you
we end this
too.
on? What should we end this on? What do you think?
I would say we should end it on what's a key takeaway that you are taking away from today's conversation that you can use going forward tomorrow and forever on?
I'm taking away show up empty. I'm stealing that because
Hmm.
I like that a lot. I don't think
Yeah.
I ever, in all honesty, if I am being completely transparent, even coming into this meeting, I didn't show up empty. I
Hmm.
came with this. I have a whole script of things that I typed out so that I could be prepared. But I've just during our conversation, I've just minimized that because I'm like, you know what, forget this. Let's just let the conversation go where it goes. But again, that's the type A of me, right? That's the planner
Yeah.
in me. That's what I do.
Yeah.
But I also
Yeah.
wanted it, I think, as in case the conversation didn't flow, which why would I even think that? We never have that problem. We never have that problem. But here I was
In how many years or
trying to be Miss
decades?
MC over here and be prepared, you know? Yeah, so my takeaway is just live a little freer, Trisha. Just let it flow. But yeah, show up empty is definitely a takeaway for me. And I think living on purpose for me,
Mhm. Mhm.
just with my everyday activities and
Yeah.
knowing that if I'm doing that, then I'm achieving purpose, the word,
Hmm.
you know.
Hmm.
How
Hmm.
about you?
One of the words that stuck with me is even in the prep for this is just being intentional. And even though it's not something that we can do all the time, it's something that we can always be striving to do. And the showing up empty is one of the ways that I've embodied that, but there are countless other ways and things that I can do to be more intentional. As you know, I've gotten rid of social media in
Yeah, yeah.
in an attempt to, go deeper in relationships versus wider. I think social media kind of not forces us because we choose to be in the world of social media, but it creates a habit where we tend to want to go wide and keep up with, lots of people and contacts versus exploring depth with those people like you who I've known for 2 decades now. Can you believe that?
I know. I was thinking about that the other day. I was. Gosh, you were just a baby. You were
I
just a
was
baby.
just a baby.
Still in college and living your life.
But you still look the same. So
Oh gosh, I wish that were true. I wish that were true. I was actually telling Sarah the other day that the mentor has become the mentee because back
mm,
in that day, you know, I mentored you on trade shows and how to work a trade show and what that posture looked like.
mhm.
And I would say the tables have turned, my friend.
I,
I,
I, I think I need to give you some more flowers because you're not going to give them to yourself. You didn't just mentor me on trade shows, Trisha. And I think you, again, because you are now at a different level of consciousness about how you want to show up in the world and honor yourself and honor your legacy, you may be discounting some of the ways that you were really, really a gift to so many people. Even if you think, you weren't as actualized and as you are right now, like you really blessed my life in so many ways, even in those early days, and throughout. And I'll never forget you showing up in my time loss when my mom passed. That was sometime into our relationship, but there were so many ways, that the honesty that you have always embodied is
I
just
remember one time you say only you would ask me that question, Trisha. Oh my gosh, I
yeah.
remember that.
You were one of the people that taught me how to be ruthlessly honest, no matter what the result may be. But honesty is such an important characteristic to have. Um,
We talked about that in
you
our last call, how you were honest with me, but with grace. And I think that's sometimes what our world lacks. It's okay
yeah,
that we have differing opinions, and it's okay that we have a disagreement. And it's okay also for me to call you out if you're doing something wrong, but it's
yeah,
how I do it, how I go about it. And if we do that with grace, then we don't
yeah,
receive defensiveness back. Um,
yes.
you know.
Yes.
And I think that's something that as humans we do struggle with. I struggle with it. I think everyone does, but I have
Yeah.
tried to make more of a conscious effort of when I'm going to speak truth to my daughter or my husband, because I think it's those close relationships that we feel um, a little looser with our tongue
Mm-hmm.
and a
Mm-hmm.
little freer, because we know they're still going to love us after the fact, right? So we're not, if
Mm-hmm.
we talk ugly, then they're still going to love me, right? They may be
Mm-hmm.
mad for a
Mm-hmm.
little bit, but we won't do
Mm-hmm.
that out in public. We'll speak
Mm-hmm.
differently, right? We'll hold it
Mm-hmm.
differently.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been trying to make a conscious effort to say things in the right way in order to not push someone away, you know?
Yes.
And so
Yes.
um, I think you just mature as you get older. You know, we just
Yeah.
do. We become better humans as we get older, or at least I hope.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
thank you for the accolades. They're definitely not necessary or needed, but I do
But you know they're
appreciate
coming
them.
from the heart.
Always, always. I love our relationship. I hope it never ever changes, and I hope you do continue to keep up with those reach outs that you talked about. That's why you got rid of social media, so that you can be more intentional with your friends. I'm glad I made that list. I mean, I was kind of surprised. I was like, "Dang, okay, cool. I made the list. I made the cut. I
You
wasn't
are
the last
always
man picked for dodgeball. I made the list."
you are
So
always on the list. You're always on the list. It's just one of those ways that we need to recalibrate ourselves once life makes us too busy
yeah.
to honor the relationships that matter most. So
Yeah. Well, let's end it on that. And thank you so much again for your time and for doing this. And since you don't have social media, I guess you won't see it. I am probably going to post it to YouTube as well, though, so
perfect.
you can go find
Perfect.
it there. Um,
Yes.
and that's it for today. Thank you so
I
much.
love you, friend.
Love
Thank
you.
you.
Yes. All right. Bye.
Bye.